In the name of Allah, who is most merciful and most beneficent. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I'm Dr. Ambreen. I am physical therapist by profession. I'm delightful to be here on the platform of University of South Asia, where I'm going to tell you about contrast bath. Contrast bath is basically a topic from your chapter Thermotherapy and Chemotherapy under the subject of physical agents and electrotherapy 2 for the students of Doctor of Physical Therapy Semester 6. Coming towards the topic, let me tell you what is contrast bath. Basically, contrast bath is a physical therapy treatment in which all the part of body is basically immersed first in hot water, then in cold water, and this process is then repeated alternatively. Actually, why we want to do this contrast bath is when we want to help to improve the circulation of some injured tissue, we tend to do this contrast bath. This is one of the reliable techniques we use to help the decrease the pain and muscle spasm, and in order to increase the range of motion and in order to improve the functional mobility of the patient. Coming towards this lecture, I will tell you some learning objective. At the end of this lecture, you must be able to understand the contrast path. You would be able to understand and tell how the contrast therapy works and the injuries related with the contrast path. And you will also be able to know about the risk of contrast path therapy. And at last, we will discuss about the application techniques along with the advantages and disadvantages of this contrast path. Coming towards the topic, as I earlier said, it is one of the easiest and yet the most effective water treatment. Basically, it is applied to by alternating the immersing an area, especially the distal extremities like wrist, ankle, and similarly like the fingers and digits. We try to do this contrast bath. We can even use this contrast bath therapy for the elbows and even for the knees if we have a large real foot or tough. This whole process is going to be done in for 20 to 25 minutes. What actually happens in this process is there is fluctuation in the blood flow. This is a picture to show you there are two tubs of water. One is containing cold water with the ice cube, and the other one is containing the hot water. And this is another unit to show you how this lactotherapy unit is going to look like in the physical therapy department. There are two compartments. One is containing the hot water, and the one is containing cold water. Coming towards the benefits of contrast bath, let me tell you what actually it is going to help the patient. Basically, the phenomena, the theory behind this process is the alternating hot and cold is going to dilate and contract the blood vessels. The hot is going to dilate and the cold is going to contract the blood vessels. So both of them is going to try to bring a supply of fresh new blood to the area being treated. The main purpose or the main reason we want to do this process is to bring about more oxygen rich blood, nutrition rich blood, and so we want to improve the circulation of those tissues. So this is one of the technique that is going to increase the circulation of tissues like the other physiotherapeutic techniques. So what it is going to do, it is going to improve the circulation. So how can it help is, it is going to bring more oxygen, it is going to bring more nutrition, and along with this, it is going to take away the metabolites, it is going to take away the carbon dioxide and other waste products from that area. So ultimately, the blood cells that fight for the infection, the white blood cells are going to be increased in number and activity, and the waste products that have collected in these tissues are going to be removed. And all of this is going to stimulate or enhance to aggravate the healing process. And for which we want to do this. And the body is being rapidly restored towards a normal condition as the healing is going to progress towards normal situation. Coming towards our 2009 systemic review of 28 studies from 1938 to 2009, found an evidence that contrast bath may increase the superficial blood flow and the skin temperature. So this study is also going to tell us, this evidence is also going to prove that the contrast bath is going to increase the superficial blood flow and also going to raise the skin temperature. Let me tell you the goals of contrast bath, the reason of contrast bath. We are going to select it. Typically, this is a hydrotherapy technique that is frequently being used in clinic just for when you have a goal of treatment to decrease the pain, when you want to decrease the muscle spasm, when you want to increase the range of motion, when you want to improve the muscle strength. Similarly, when you have an intention to increase the flexibility and improve the functional mobility of the patient, and it also helps to avoid the risk of edema formation and control the inflammation process. So these are all the goals for which you are preferably going to select this contrast bath therapy. And the one more thing is the varying sensory stimulation is thought to promote the pain relief and desensitization as well. So this is also one of the reasons we are going to select it. Now, The point of discussion is how the contrast therapy is going to work. So the theory behind the use of contrast bath therapy in the physical therapy treatment is the rapid change from warm and cold is going to help to quickly open up and close up the tiny capillaries in our body. When there will be warm temperature, there will be vasodilation, and when there will be cold, there will be vasoconstriction. So the vasodilation and vasoconstriction of especially the tiny capillaries is going to help to improve the circulation. So this rapid opening and closing, the rapid opening due to the heat and closing of the blood vessel due to cold near the site of the injury is going to create a pumping action that is thought to decrease the swelling and inflammation. The theory behind this pumping action is when a vessel vasodilates and then it constricts, then it vasodilates, then it constricts. Actually, it is going to improve the circulation by improving the pumping action of these tissues. So it is going to take away the waste products, it is going to take away the metabolites, or it is going to take away the carbon dioxide, it is going to bring about more oxygen, it is going to bring about more nourishment for those tissues and going to help up to heal in order towards the healing instead and trying to avoid like the reason due to which they are not able to heal better. So all these are going to decrease the swelling, and all these steps are going to help to resolve the inflammation, and due to which you would be able to decrease the pain and improve the mobility of the patient. Let me tell you some injuries that are treated with the contrast bath. Especially those injuries which have swelling and pain around the soft tissues and joints of the body are treated very well with this contrast bath, like ankle and leg fractures, plantar fasciitis, Achilles tendinitis, upper extremity fractures, hand and finger arthritis. They are well treated with these conditions. Generally, contrast bath is going to benefit some other conditions like chronic edema, subacute trauma, inflammatory conditions like Supreme, streams, tendinitis, infections, hyperalgesia, hypersensitivity called by the reflex sympathetic dystrophy. The point is, what is this reflex sympathetic dystrophy? It is a disorder that causes the lasting pain, usually in the arm or in the leg, and it shows after an injury or after stroke or even after heart attack, but its severity is typically so worse than the original injury itself. So in order to decrease such an intense pain, what we do is we are actually going to desensitize those nerve endings with the use of hot and cold like therapy. The possible risk of contrast bath therapy is basically so less if we are going to perform it correctly. But the main risks that we can face are burns from the water, hot water, and the skin even may get damaged due to the cold water. So if we are going to ensure the water temperature by checking them by the use of thermometer, it would be helpful for us to avoid this sort of like risk. The correct temperature is the best way to reduce these risk factors. Coming towards the application techniques. For discussing the application technique, we must have the equipment that are going to help us to perform this contrast bath. They are basically we need two containers, a thermometer and towel. Two containers, one for hot water, the other one is for cold water. And what they are going to do in this hot and cold water procedure actually includes what you have to do is you have to place these two containers adjacently, and that these containers can be either real cool, it can be either bucket, it can be a tap. Okay, fine. Anything you are going to have, you can use it. Next thing is you are going to fill one container with a warm or hot water that you are going to keep at 38 centigrade, and the other container you are going to keep the water at cold at 10 to 18 centigrade. It should be between 10 to 18 centigrade. In Fahrenheit, the hot water would be between 100 to 111 Fahrenheit, and in cold water, we must be around 50 Fahrenheit to 64 Fahrenheit. Coming towards the tap, what next we can do when we are going to place a hot water and we are going to place a cold water. The next step is we are going to immerse the limbs. But before immersing the limb, there is a point that is related to the temperature of the water. That should be when your intention is to control the edema and pain, the temperature difference between hot and cold water would be large. Fine. Why you need to keep this hot and cold water to be large? Because you want to eliminate the edema, you want to improve the pain by removing away the waste products and the edema pressure. So you want proper vasoconstriction and vasodilation. So when you want a marked vasodilation and vasoconstriction, there must be marked changes between the marked differences between the temperature. So when your intention is to desensitize, it is recommended the temperature difference should be between hot and water should be slight initially, and gradually you may increase for the later treatment as the temperature, patient and sensitivity decreases gradually. Now, coming towards the previous point that we were saying, there are two tubs. One is containing hot water at 38 centigrade, the other is containing cold water at 10 to 18 centigrade. Fine. The next step, what we are going to do is, let me tell you, we are going to immerse the treatment area. First in a warm water for 3 to 4 minutes. Then we have to immerse this limb into cold water for 1 minute. While the limb is in the hot water or warm water, you may even ask your patient, you may even guide your patient to perform some gentle motion exercises, like he can move up and down, right and left, like clockwise, anti-clockwise. You must guide your patient to perform gentle motion exercises during the warm immersion technique time. Anyways, coming towards the hot water, when we are going to shift from hot to cold water, we should quickly move the part being treated to cold tub or bucket, and be prepared. The change from the warm to cold water would be pretty intense. Obviously, when you are going to shift from hot to cold, the feel you are going to feel in the cold water is pretty intense. So typically, the stay in the cold water for about 1 minute is difficult for the patient. So you must instruct your patient if you feel any difficulty or any discomfort, he or she must tell you. If he is not able to tolerate it for 1 minute, you may even shift towards the warm water. And if he can comfortably tolerate it, it's well and good. Anyways, you're going to repeat this sequence for 5 to 6 times to provide a total treatment session of 25 to 30 minutes and end up with immersion in the hot water. What you're going to do is from hot to you're going to cold, and then hot, cold, and hot and cold. You're going to perform this exercises like a sequence for 5 to 6 minutes with a duration of 3 to 4 minutes in warm water and 1 minute in the cold water. And total session is going to take, treatment time is going to take 25 to 30 minutes almost. And you are going to end up with the warm water. Coming towards the advantages of this contrast bath therapy, every process or every phenomena, every technique has some advantages, and along with the advantages, we also have disadvantages. Coming towards the first advantage of this contrast bath is it may promote the vigorous circulatory effect than the heat and cold alone. What it is going to do, it is going actually the combination of hot therapy and cold therapy. Instead of selecting only heat therapy, you're going to vasodilate, and when you are going to select cryotherapy, it is only give you more. The prominent effect is vasoconstriction. So when you are going to combine them in order to improve the circulation, one is going to vasodilate, and meanwhile the other one is going to vasoconstrict and vasodilate and vasoconstrict. They are going to exert a very good pumping and vigorous pumping action on the blood vessels, especially the tiny vessels of that area. So it is going to improve the circulation of those tissues very well as compared to any modality or any agent you are going to use in a single or alone. Fine. The next is it is going to provide a good contact with the contoured distal extremity as compared to other thermal agents. For example, we are going to apply a hot pack around my wrist or hand. The hot pack is not able to cover the contoured areas, like it is not able to cover the flanges or like properly. But when I am going to immerse this hand and wrist in the warm water and cold water, and they are both going to come in contact every irregular surface of my wrist and hand. So we can say this process is going to give you a good contact with the contoured distal extremities as compared to only other thermal agents, hot and cold, which you are going to wrap around the area, but it is not going to properly cover that area. Coming towards the third point, it is going to help to provide the pain control without aggravating edema. It is going to help to promote the edema relief. It is going to help to cause the aggravation of edema. It also allows the movement in the water for increased circulatory effects. We earlier said when we are going to immerse the limb, we can even move up and down, right and left, clockwise and anti-clockwise. So it is going to give you another additional benefit that while you're getting some thermal changes, you can even do like some movements. Fine. So I'm going to revise the advantages. Now, first advantage is it is going to promote the vigorous circulatory effects. As compared to a heated cold alone, it is going to provide you good contact with the contoured distal extremities. It's going to help to provide the pain control without aggravating edema. It is going to allow the movement in the water for increased circulatory effects. So now we are going to discuss disadvantages. As I earlier said, there are always disadvantages along with advantages of every concept or everything. So coming towards the demerits, The limb is actually in the dependent position, so the gravity may act, so it may even aggravate the edema in spite of the fact you are actually going to use it for edema prevention, but due to the gravity, the edema may aggravate. Fine. So the second most important thing is some patient may even not tolerate the cold immersion. So it would be not convenient for every person. Those who can't tolerate the cold, they are not being suitable for this type of therapy. And the third and most important thing is evidence for research evaluating the effects of contrast bath is actually lacking. Contrast bath have not gained much attention for the researchers. However, the little has been done, and that suggests that it is one of the very effective physical therapy treatments. A 2013 meta-analysis found that little differences in outcomes when you are going to compare the contrast bath to the other physical therapy treatments. A plantar fasciitis study found that a conservative regime involving the contrast bath was as effective as the steroid use. And similarly, other studies suggest that contrast bath may be more effective than the rest of the relieving muscles like soreness after exercises. So it is, in short, it has the literature has very less evidences, but the very few evidences are basically going to support it in certain conditions. So this was all about the contrast therapy. Now I have a brief overview of the cryotherapy and thermotherapy physiological facts. Cryotherapy, as we know, is application of cold, and thermotherapy is the application of hot. We have earlier studied these two chapters, and right now this is the table just to show the differences between the heat and cold on the different physiological effects. So we are going to compare cryotherapy versus thermotherapy. This is a table from the book Michael H. Cameron on the physical agents. It's just a comparison between cryotherapy. Cryotherapy is the application of heat, and thermotherapy. Coming towards the first point, pain. Cryotherapy is going to decrease the pain. Similarly, thermotherapy is going to decrease the pain. Both are actually going to work on the pain gate theory, the pain gate mechanism. They are both going to stimulate the thermoreceptors. They are going to take away the message to the afferent, large diameter afferents, and they are going to close the pains. The next one is they are both going to decrease the muscle spasm as they are going to decrease the pain. So the pain is going to decrease, the muscle spasm would also be decreased. Cryotherapy is going to decrease the blood flow, while the thermotherapy is going to increase the blood flow, because whenever there is increase in temperature, there would be increase in the blood flow. And whenever there would be decrease in the temperature in a tissue area, it is going to decrease the blood flow. Coming towards the fourth point, that is edema formation. Cryotherapy is going to decrease the edema, while thermotherapy is going to increase the edema. Why? Because thermotherapy increases the tissue temperature, due to which the vasodilation occurs. When vasodilation occurs, there is increased tissue permeability, vessel permeability. When vessels are going to enhance their permeability, the blood cells are going to leak out of the vessel, and they are going to accumulate in the extravascular spaces. So as a result of the increase in the temperature, increase in the vascular permeability, there is edema formation, while cryotherapy is going to prevent the edema formation. Therefore, it is going to preferably use in acute condition, inflammatory condition, while thermotherapy is contraindicated in acute condition. Because it aggravates the edema, cryotherapy has to relieve the edema. Coming towards the nerve conduction, cryotherapy decreases the nerve conduction, thermotherapy increases the nerve conduction. And metabolic effect, cryotherapy decreases the metabolic rate, and thermotherapy increases the metabolic rate. Plus is to increase and minus is to decrease. Collagen extensibility, cryotherapy decreases the collagen extensibility, while thermotherapy increases the collagen extensibility. And joint stiffness, cryotherapy as decreases the collagen extensibility, so it increases the joint stiffness, while thermotherapy decreases the joint stiffness. Coming towards the spasticity, cryotherapy is very effective in reducing the spasticity, while thermotherapy has no effects in order to reduce the upper motor neuron layers, or in order to reduce the spasticity due to upper motor neuron layers. Thank you. This was all about the thermotherapy and cryotherapy and their differences on the physiological effects. And this is actually the summarized view of this cryotherapy and thermotherapy. This was all about this lecture. Coming towards the end, I just want to thank you for giving me so much time and even listening me. And I'm going to end this lecture, and at the end of this lecture, I'll say if you have any questions, you may ask. And you may even put your questions in the Google Classroom, and we will also have interactive session that you may ask those questions even during the interactive session. Thank you so much. Till then, Allah Hafiz. Inshallah, I'll see you in the next class, in the next interactive session actually. Till then, Allah Hafiz. Stay blessed, stay home, stay safe.